How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to my kitchen. I'm Chef Husky, and today we're going to be doing things a little bit differently. Instead of cooking up a new recipe, I'm going to be teaching you how to cook. So maybe you just got into playing Pokemon TCG Pocket and you liked it and decided to download the TCG Live app to see what the real deal was like. Oh, big mistake. But you're already in this deep to where you're looking up videos on how to get better, so I may as well help teach you how to become a better player. This is the first of a series of videos where I'll be explaining some of the more nuanced topics of Pokemon TCG to help you understand everything you need to know to win your games. Today's topic is sequencing, or the act of structuring your moves so that you have the best odds of drawing what you want. Goes without saying, but there will be a lot of math in this video and it will get very technical. If that's not your thing, feel free to skip and come back for the next one. I am cooking up a new deck as we speak and will hopefully have that out for you by this weekend if that's what you're here for. But I will include lots of breaks and some Subway Surfers for those of you bold enough to keep going. For those of you still here, let's learn how to become mathematically the very best. Lesson 1, how many basics should I play if I want to avoid giving up too many mulligans? I guarantee you at some point in your Pokemon TCG career you've uttered the phrase, how did I not draw a single basic? I played 12 of them. It feels bad to give your opponent a glimpse into your deck and extra cards to start off with. So we're going to try and find a sweet spot of basics to play in order to increase the probability of drawing one. To do this, we need to start with a probability formula called hypogeometric distribution. Don't worry, it just looks scary. Essentially, this is a formula used primarily for card games to show the probability of a draw without replacing it in the deck after it's been drawn. So let's just replace these letters with what they mean. The capital N represents the population size, in this case 60 cards. The uppercase K is the set we're looking for, let's say 12 basics. The lowercase n represents how many cards we're drawing, and the lowercase k is the amount of basics we want. In this case, we're just looking for the probability of drawing 1. So to simplify this formula, the first thing we have to do is calculate the probability of not drawing any. Since we have 12 basics, that means that there's 48 cards in this deck that are not basics, and x becomes 0 representing not drawing any. The next step is to calculate every different probability of choosing a basic, a non-basic, and the total number of different combinations of 7 cards. So for a basic we have 12, and there is effectively one way of not drawing any, and that's just straight up not pulling any. Then to calculate every combination of not drawing a basic, we need to break it up into each individual draw. For the first draw there are 48 non-basics and you have 7 cards to draw. For the next it's 47 non-basics and 6 more cards to draw. And it keeps going until you've drawn all 7 non-basics, and there are 3,271,640 ways of drawing 7 cards that are all non-basics. Then for the total ways of drawing any 7 cards, you do the same thing but with all 60 cards for 7 draws, resulting in 386,206,920 possible combinations of 7 cards. When you simplify this, you're left with a 19.06% chance of not drawing any of your basics, meaning that if you play 12 basics, you have an 80.94% chance of drawing at least one basic. So when you play 12 basics, you'll still end up taking a mulligan roughly once every 5 games, which is a lot more likely than I thought it would be. So applying that formula to different counts, here's a chart that shows what your odds are of drawing a basic at every different basic count, from as low as 4 basics if you're one of those Iron Thorns weirdos, to 20 basics if you're absolutely insane. For good measure, I'm also showing the percentage change at each new basic count. As you can see here, on the lower end, adding one more basic increases your odds by a lot, whereas at the top, one more basic doesn't make that much of a difference. The difference between 3 and 4 basics is roughly the same as the difference between 14 and 20. Because of this, we calculate the sweet spot of basic counts to be roughly between 8 and 12 if you want to avoid a mulligan. If you need more space for tech cards or items, maybe go on the lower side, but be aware that there's about a 15% difference between 8 and 12 basics, and that could mean the difference between your opponent getting an extra card and being able to peep your starting hand. Alright, that was the hardest part, I promise. Here, let's take a break real quick and imagine some red pandas playing while we have some pleasant music playing. The rest of this video will use some variation of that same formula, but I will simplify it going forward. Lesson 2. Should I play 3 of, or 4 of, the same Pokemon if I want to increase my chances of starting with it? Anyone who plays Pheasantipity, or Blood Moon Ursaluna, or Radiant Charizard, or Lumineon knows how rough it is when you start with that Pokemon when you play a number of other Pokemon you'd much rather start with. So let's take my Uxie Elf deck for this example. I do play Pheasantipity in here now, and I'd very much like to not start with it. I usually don't want to show that I even have Snorunt in my opening hand, and Azelf is no good to me until the end of the game. So Uxie is really the best case scenario that I'd like to start with. So what are my odds of drawing it on my opening turn if I played 3 of them, and would it be more worth my time to cut a card in favor of a 4th Uxie? Using that same distribution formula, we know that we have a 31.54% chance of drawing an Uxie on our starting turn, which is not bad. That's roughly a 1 in 3 chance, considering we have a total of 15 basics. But let's say we cut Manaphy in favor of a 4th Uxie. We still have 15 basics, but we now have a better chance of drawing Uxie, and the odds now change to a 39.95, an increase of 8.41%, which is the difference between a 1 in 3 chance and a 2 in 5 chance. If that sounds worth it to you, I would say go for it. But this is why whenever I add in something like a Bidoof in my deck, I usually make it a 1 Bidoof and 2 Bibarel, and instead use a Hisuian Heavy Ball to pull it out of there if I really need it. It's so that I have a higher chance of starting with the Pokemon I actually want. Personally, I'm happy with a 3 count. I have a lot of ways of searching out an Uxie and recovering it from the discard if I need to. But those are the kinds of informed decisions that you want to be making as you're choosing your basic count. Alright, quick Subway Surf first break. Pay attention, this stuff is important. Lesson 3. Sequencing. Sequencing is the process of making decisions in a card game in a specific order to improve your chances of getting a favorable result. Let's use my Uxie as Elf deck as an example again. Let's say it's the end of the game. I need 1 KO to win, and my opponent can win next turn if I don't get this knockout. I have a Zelf in the active, and I need a counter gain and an energy to win. I have 23 cards in my deck, and a Pheasantipity is on the bench who has a Flip the Script ability I can use. In my hand is an Irida, a Frostlass, and let's say a Buddy Buddy Poffin. We already prize checked, and we know that in our deck somewhere is an Arven, a Counter Gain, an Earthen Vessel, and 2 Psychic Energies. So our win conditions are 1. Get Arven. 2. Get Counter Gain in one of the 2 energies. 3. Get Counter Gain in an Earthen Vessel. So if we just flip the script and do nothing else, drawing 3 cards, this is what the odds look like for each scenario. A 13.04% chance of drawing Arven, a 2.26% chance of drawing the Counter Gain and Energy, and a 1.19% chance of drawing Counter Gain and an Earthen Vessel. In total, there is a 16.49% chance that one of these scenarios happen. Not impossible, but also not very good odds. But there are some things that we can do with this hand in order to improve our odds with a process called thinning. Thinning is essentially just removing junk from the deck to improve our odds of drawing what we do want. So let's say we play our Buddy Buddy Poffin first, and then flip the script. With Buddy Buddy, we grab Snowrun and Uxie, and remove them from the deck and then shuffle. We now have 21 cards in the deck, which means that if we flip the script now, we only have 21 cards to draw from, which changes our odds on any one of our win conditions to look like this. A 14.29% chance of grabbing Arven, a 2.71% chance of grabbing a Counter Gain and Energy, and a 1.43% chance of grabbing a Counter Gain and a Vessel, and a total of an 18.42% chance of any one of these scenarios happening. Basically increasing our odds by about 2%. It's not much, but that's essentially how thinning works. We're taking out cards from our deck so that there's no chance of us grabbing it from a random draw. Another option is to play Buddy Buddy and then Irida, which will take away Arven as an option for us, but it will guarantee us an Earthen Vessel for an energy. So now that's one factor taken out, and all we need is a counter gain. So we took the 2 cards out with Buddy Buddy, and now Irida will let us take the Vessel. And let's say an extra Frostlass, just as discard fodder for the Vessel. We then play the Vessel first to take out the 2 energies, meaning that we have removed 6 cards from our deck, bringing our total down to 17. Here's what the odds look like now. Arven is no longer a win condition, and energy is no longer needed, so all that's left to win is getting that 1 counter gain. When we flip the script, our odds of pulling counter gain are now 17.65%. Therefore, with all the information that we had beforehand, the best decision would have been to not play the Irida, Buddy Buddy to thin, and then Pheasantipity. 18.42% is not great odds, but crazier things have happened. And anything that you can do to take chance out of the equation and improve your odds, I think you should do. And that's where I'll stop for today. This is easily the most math-intensive video I've made so far, and the next video is going to be just some stupid fun. But I hope you liked it, and I thank you for watching. We've been blowing out the goals that I set for the year and growing this channel really quickly. I always lived under the philosophy that the first 100 subscribers are the hardest to get, so I thank you for getting us past that first big hurdle. Next goal is 500, so if you like what you see, please feel free to give a sub. I would really appreciate it. If not, I'll earn it next time. I'll see you then.